If the plan worked out real well, we might even have to buy more machines. Buy more machines.
What are you illustrations have in common? They believe that they need culture. They're teaching young artists to be scared of music. I am taking ideas that are already there, and I synthesize them into something. My project is a remix project. Bad enough that someone might think you're not good, but hey, you can go to jail for it. If I don't make this piece of art because I'm scared, then the terrorists have won. To be humble.
Do you understand other people? What about you? Do you understand other people? What about you? Do you understand other people? What about you? Let's see how you act and how you think in regard to others.
Computer, stop music. Computer, stop music. All right, come on. Work with me, machine. Let's go. And hello there, Internet. Welcome to my workshop. I'm Daddy Warcrimes, and we are streaming here today. And regrettably, we're not going to be spending a whole lot of time on the workbench because we have to use power tools. We're going off of these atrocious plans to make a bookshelf out of 2x4s and 2x12s. And half-inch dowels. Why? Because the wife told me to. So, let's see if we can get started. Actually, we're going to be doing a little bit of hand tool work. still got to clean off this bench just a tad. Just trying to get everything situated before the stream started. That didn't work out quite as well as I had liked. I've got my overhead camera turned off, so I'm using that guy way off in the distance over there. That's my camera, because it's pointing at the saw. And I figured that would probably be more likely what we're going to be using today rather than the workbench. I could be mistaken, because I don't use the chop saw anymore, because I hate the chop saw. It calls me bad names, so we don't get along anymore. I don't invite him in any of my parties. Not like Jose Cuervo. We're still good friends with Jose Cuervo, but he's not welcome at the parties because he's a little too rowdy. But the chop saw, we just don't get along anymore. Still got it for some reason. May get rid of it at some point, but you know, I don't need a chop saw. I like cutting stuff by hand. And I've got a panel saw, I've got a crosscut carcass saw. You know, I've got all the saws I need to cut everything by hand. So the chop saw just no longer really makes sense. Alright. I can get the sandpaper out for a while. Do want to keep the toothpicks handy just in case. All right, we're looking good. So, what are the cuts we need right now? And what we're going to do is, it looks like we've got kind of 2x12s laminated with 2x4s, and the 2x4s are going to kind of bridge the gap with other 2x4s, so it's kind of look like a lap joint of sorts. So we just got to cut them to slightly different lengths. Okay, so I need 2x12s by 8s, and what am I cutting? I'm cutting 3 inches off of those. All right, so there's my lumber. See if I can get it down without killing myself. This stuff is still probably fairly wet. It's only been drying in here for less than a week. So one of the reasons I'm objecting to this is because of the construction lumber and it being wet and it being 2x12s. And I know from personal experience, which you can just as easily get from reading, that these 2x12s are going to warp something fierce. They are going to cup dramatically. Now I need to get two 40-inch shelves out of this, which should not be too much of a hassle, I don't think. Except, I need some way to hold them to the bench without moving. It's fairly heavy, so it should hold pretty well on its own. To do that. Not an elegant solution. Alright, let's see, 40 inches. Actually, let's lose that knot there. Nobody wants that knot. Try and get the prettier parts of the wood. So I've got a channel message. It should be down below if you're on the website. I'm not sure how it's going to work on the Twitch app, unfortunately, with links to these plans. And we're saying spice rack, aren't we? Let's see. Let's see if I can change that. Because this is no longer spice rack, this is bookshelf. I don't want to be advertising falsely. Bookshelf. One of the great difficulties of Twitch is just trying to get your name straight. Okay, so 40 inches is about there. Wow. That is, it's going to be a monster of a shelf, isn't it? I don't have my combination squares are big enough for this, so I'm going to get the good old T-square going. I suppose I can put on my apron like a real woodworker is supposed to do. And I can grab my chisel from my fancy new chisel rack. So I did this partially on stream, but also a good bit off stream. New chisel rack. Keeps all my chisels nice and friendly and organized. Sorry for the momentum. And this is actually the main reason why I own this chisel, is for deepening these knife walls. because it was cheap and I only needed to do this one really specific thing, and I don't need the edge to be all that durable or actually necessarily all that sharp. You know, sometimes it's like I'm using construction lumber. Why even bother with a square? That's what I'm doing, so. Yeah, I probably ought to have some kind of support for this, so it doesn't come crashing down and damage things. So I do have a sawhorse, which I expect is the appropriate mechanism. This is just going to get in the way. Let's see about that. Need a bigger shop. Means I need to get the shop more organized. I also need to get the house more organized, which requires working in the shop. So kind of a catch-22. Maybe in a couple of years I'll have it all situated and I can start doing fancy stuff. About that time, I'm probably going to be maybe working on my new shop. Because that is ultimately a plan, is move out of the garage and into a custom-built woodworking shop in the backyard. And nothing too big. I'm thinking maybe a 15 by 20, something along those lines. This particular sawhorse right here didn't do too well on the move. But it's enough for what I'm doing here. And you know what, my chop saw probably wouldn't have done this very well either. This 2x12 is a bit too wide to go into the chop saw, because I don't have the sliding whatever dingus. You know, where the chop saw pretends to be a radial arm saw. I get that nobody wants a radial arm saw, but no one wants a chop saw that's pretending to be a radial arm saw. That's probably not true. I think everybody wants one of those. But I don't. If you're going to be a chop saw, be a chop saw. There's no shame in it. Not gonna play ball with me today, is it? Just closer. I'm just trying to avoid any real big blowouts when this finally cuts out. No splintering, don't want any of that. Through. There we go. That worked out nicely. Now this one, here's what I'm going to do. I'll measure this one off the last cut. Get a small nick in there. Go. I guess I could square that down the edge too. Probably be a good idea. And this is the big nut that's kind of broken out on the other side, so it's got a lot of voids in there. And we can exclude that from the project. That's not good. Kind of wandering off a bit. See if we can just establish the curve a little bit deeper. There we go. Nice straight cut. That's what we like. Smells like sap. Which, to be quite honest, is not my favorite thing in a bookshelf. Hopefully we'll get a good sealant on there to actually protect the books themselves. Alright, so here's two. I maybe should have done a story stick, but that requires effort that I'm not willing to put into it. Right. Now this one has a big knot in the middle that I would kind of like to avoid. Is that feasible? Oh, just barely. I can cut around that. So I'm not sure if you can see, but yeah, this guy right here, that does not belong in a bookshelf. So I'll cut from either side and we'll avoid it. Set you aside for the time being. Come back to you later. Do you believe? Is that my neck? I'll find the spot that I marked. There it is. I need to clamp with this. There we go. Some of this grain just doesn't cooperate with me, so I get kind of undulating effect with the knife roll, which is not ideal, but I can deal with. I can work with it. Might be going a little bit deeper than I really need to. And this knot's going to mess me up because the grain is going many different funky directions, and it's pretty hard cutting right here. I'll be alright though. It'll work. It'll all work out in the end, or it won't. And then I just go buy more lumber. Stay. You know what would be nice? A saw bench. That might be nice. I'm going to need one of those pretty soon, I think. I mean, this is fine to do like ripping and whatnot on this if you're dealing with small, thin, 3/4 inch pieces, but yeah, this is just ridiculous. certainly can be done, but why would you? This coming from a guy who has a perfectly functional chop saw right over there. And probably could have been done with this already. But no, I want to use my panel saw. Because this is fun somehow. What the hell is wrong with me? There's 3. And as luck would have it, I'm not cutting directly through a nut. So that will be a bonus. Just to remind me where that mark is. This is a really good way to cut your fingers open, is when you're not paying attention with scoring the wood. Done that before. Got a knot right here, which is making it a bit more difficult to keep a straight line. Okay. That should be enough. Try and get a slight curve in there, all the way across, to help guide it. All right. Double check that my in the curve, and looks good to go. Chisel, why do you not want to be upright? It's okay. You'll be all right. I need more stability over here. This is probably not going to do it, but it's what I have. And there's another shot. I have a table saw. Is it Blake me? That's a heck of a name. Now I've got a table saw. For some reason I like this more. And this is, I don't like doing cross cuts on the table saw. I don't have a good sled for it. So I pretty much just use the table saw for rip cuts. And cross cuts I do almost exclusively by hand. The chop saw, I've got one of those, the compound miter saw. But we're not friends anymore. Yeah. Well, a little bit. I like to tell myself that it's more fun this way. Maybe that I get better exercise. Tools are friends and not food. That's one way of looking at it. And I apologize, I'm not looking at you while I'm talking to you because that's where the actual chat text is. I don't like this knot over here. And most of that's going to get ripped off anyway when I cut out the bowl nose. This is the issue you run into with wet 2x12s is they're really heavy. Yeah, I'm just not going to win with this board. It's going to be the lesser of many, many evils. Well, thanks for the follow! Always use more followers. I'm trying to get to 50 so I can be an affiliate. Which means I can make money on this. Or at least that's part of the idea. I don't know, I've had a YouTube channel for about 10 years now, and I think I've gotten to about 60 subs on that one, so this might take a while. Of course, now I have more time to dedicate to this because I don't have a job. Where did I put that mark? Somewhere around 40 inches. Let's go. The 40. There we go. There's my mark. And most of the stuff I do here is hand tool work. But I've got to appease the wife and get a bookshelf out quickly. Yeah, it's woodworking is strangely addictive. I did not expect it to be this fascinating to me. But it's the being able to actually, I don't know, it's really hard to describe. But fitting joinery is just such an amazing feeling to finally to go through it, to make all these cuts, and then finally fit two pieces of board together that you were not expecting to. It's just it's an amazing feeling when you actually make something, you know. It doesn't take that much effort. And one of the great things is you can put just a couple hours into it at a time. So what are you doing with wood if you're not actually woodworking? Ooh. I wouldn't say that, because I've seen some of the stuff people do with CNC, and I've made a conscious decision that I don't want to get into a CNC because it's too much work. Because those things you have to program, you have to set them up, they take a lot of setup. And with, particularly with hand tools, you just start and you go and you don't have to set anything up because everything's already right there. Well, except planes. You gotta set up the planes. But you don't have to adjust everything to the workpiece. Find a way that takes less effort? Or are you gonna do like just downloading pre-built plans or something like that. So I know you can just like find a lot of projects that people already built, and you just got to download it and set it to go. That's good enough kerf. Still on the kerf. Trained as a mechanical draftsman and looking CNC programming. Okay. Well, if you've already got the skills, that's definitely a way to go about it. I picked up woodworking maybe just a couple years ago, and the hand tool stuff was mostly because I couldn't afford a planer. So those things get really, really expensive. So I bought some hand planes thinking I could get away with that, and it has worked out. I'm going to have to take your word for it. I'm not really sure what any of those things are. Fusion 360 G-code. I imagine those are the scripting or programming languages for that. Now with the CNC, I would imagine the scripting would be mostly just coordinates, if I'm not mistaken. But I could anticipate maybe you're doing like arcs and whatnot with those. Okay. But I don't expect those are using like loops or anything like that, like you would with more traditional programming. Loops and subroutines. Okay, now geometry is a weak subject for me. I have no idea what an A-axis would be, unless it's like time-based. I probably hit something I didn't want to. Rotation. Yeah, still not getting it. Rotation, like as an arc, or rotation clockwise, rotation speed of the bit. Like a lathe. Gotcha. Okay. That makes more sense. That's a complex machine to get there. Yeah, I don't envy that. No, that sounds like you got your work cut out for you. Does not sound easy at all. All right. I've been tempted on occasion to look at 3D printing, but yeah, so far the stuff I would want to build with it, 3D printers are not really well capable of building. Using a common language is definitely going to be making things easier, I would say. And what I would want to use 3D printers for is probably like making guns and stuff. But you can't really make good guns with 3D printers. You can get somewhat functional, but not to the point that I would like. Yes, CNC mill would definitely be helpful for that. For receivers anyway. Barrels, you definitely need a lathe, but I think you have some specialized tooling for that, I imagine. For the barrels, I know. Like the bullet buttons and whatnot. So far, my only experience with making guns has been just assembling AR-15s. I've done 2 of those. Well, it's more difficult to hook up a stereo system, honestly. Those things are pretty easy to put together. From parts, anyway. Stocks, yes. I've seen some folks do like they did like a blank, so they had one stock chucked up as a pattern and used a follower and used a lathe and like a router or something to carve out a identical stock. I've actually got an old double barrel that I'm looking to put a stock on. The stock on it is just not. It's all kinds of tore apart. But I was thinking about carving one of those later, though. My skills are not there. Good stocks can be difficult to get, and they can be expensive if you're doing them custom too. Fortunately, I don't really care about such things all that much, so I go with cheap stocks, usually collapsible 4-position stocks. Although I have an interest in the new PDW stocks that are coming out for AR-15s. But none of those require any wood. $30cm, $40cm, That's fairly limited. What are you planning on making with it? I've been thinking about lathes. Not really sure what I'm wanting to get. I don't want to get too small. You never want to go too small when you start with tools. But you know, the big ones are a lot more expensive too. But I worry, I know that for what I'm doing with a lathe, probably the biggest thing I'd be doing is like table legs, so yeah, you know, really only 36 inches is all I would need, but you never know what you're going to try and do in the future. So I always find it's better to get a bigger tool than you need. But then it's, do you wait for the, to have the funds to purchase the perfect tool, or do you get what you can use right now? Always a conundrum, I find. Like, I got this, maybe we can see from this angle. Right about there, that's my bandsaw. It's a horrible, horrible bandsaw. I do not recommend them. But yeah, it's like 9-inch wheels. I got about 3-inch resaw capacity, and it's not nearly enough for anything useful. Doing reliefs and bot parts. Okay. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is like Robot Wars and Battle Bots. I expect you can do more useful things with robots these days. Saw is wandering just a little bit. And the board is wandering. One bites the dust. Well, the only brute force is required for the holdfast, but you want to get that clamp down really tight to keep the wood from wandering. And it's mostly because I'm using the lightweight mallet. If I really wanted to get serious and pull this guy out. Well, the blade just kind of, with hand tools, things are going to wander. Okay, the direction of the grain is going to affect the way the blade cuts, and with like power tools, I mean, you can just push it through and it's going to cut in a straight line because it's a straight line. With hand tools, you kind of have to pay attention to what's going on as you're cutting. And that's another thing that actually really fascinates me about hand tool work is learning how that particular piece of wood is going to cut it, how it's going to plane, how it's going to chisel, and just kind of having to adapt to it as you go. But yeah, no, I'm pretty good at getting a straight cut nowadays. I mean, it's not perfect, but I'm not planning on winning any contest with this particular piece. Now, this is the wife told me I need to make a bookshelf with these particular plans, and I'm quite upset about it. But she wants it soon, And left to my own devices, I would take about a month or two to produce it on my own. If you look at any of my past archives or whatnot, I spent about a month making a spice rack. But that was all good times. So those are 40-inch pieces, and it's calling for 37 inches on the 2x4s. I don't, however, trust that measurement. Because we do more rule of thumb. It's supposed to be a bookcase anyway. I'm not really fond of the idea of making a bookcase out of dimensional lumber, but that's just me. Well, that wouldn't be nearly as entertaining. And if we wanted to do it the really easy way, we'd go down to Walmart and we'd pick up a bookshelf there. It'd be made out of MDF and have all kinds of laminates and stuff, and we wouldn't have to do any woodworking. But you don't get the joy of making stuff if you just buy it or anything like that. And you know, I don't get as much joy working off of someone else's plans using dimensional lumber of construction quality, because this is not good wood right here. If you can buy it at Home Depot, it's not good wood. And that's about what it's going to be doing. You see, the thing is, she wants the crappy looking furniture. I want to make nice looking furniture. Well, I guess 37 inches will work. Okay. Not sure if you'll be able to see, but got way back there, that's a wooden shelving unit that I built, all lap joints. All done with hand tools. I did that with a chisel and a saw. And it took ages to complete. And it looks like crap too, because I didn't really know what I was doing. Making it up as I go along. Now, the thing is, I really can't do it modular because it's the plans insist on 2x4s, and I didn't want to argue because arguing never works out in my favor. So it's more or less I'm going to have to build an entirely new bookshelf if I want to do it to, you know, decent specifications. Which is not a problem. It's just not. It'll have to be later on. And this will last for a couple years until I'm ready to build something. That's what I want. And this would probably make good shop furniture in the later on, I suppose. So I could still do that. And this should go a lot faster. How many of these do I need? So twice as many of those. So I think I got 6 of those, so I'm going to need 12 of these. That's what it looks like. You sound like someone who doesn't have a wife, because it does not work that way most of the time. Generally, it's just the one who holds the ovaries who wins the argument. Because when you're in a relationship, even if you're right, even if you win, you lose. 17 years, 2 kids. Well, that's an accomplishment. It could just be that I'm doing it wrong. That is always in the back of my mind. I've been married 15 years, 10 to this one. I need to see about this edge. Hopefully I don't need to get the diamond plates out. I'm trying to just keep the edge honed on the strop to avoid bringing out the diamond plates unnecessarily. May have gone too far this time though. No strap? Is that a typo? Or am I just confused? There we go. Do you disapprove of me using a strap, or do you just not use a strap yourself? So I'm quite fond of using the strap. Well, I invoke the strap multiple times a week nowadays. not quite as proficient as I'd like to be, but I'm fairly good at sharpening now. Yeah, I didn't feel like buying a strap, so I just went to local craft store, Michael's I think, and bought a bunch of leather. Just glued it to a couple pieces of poplar. Seems to work fairly well. I don't, as far as for like shaving razors, I don't sharpen those. I just buy new ones. And portability is not a key factor for me either, because I do everything right here in my shop. So all my sharpening happens right here. Shop, who am I kidding? I got a garage temporarily. Okay, is that like a really thin flat knife? Kind of prying stuff off there? I know that sticking to the bed tends to be a bit of an issue for that. I've seen guys use like masking tape on the bed of it. I'm trying to alleviate that. I don't know. Okay. A lot of woodworkers are really fond of the Japanese tools, the Japanese planes and the Japanese saws. I have not gone that direction yet. Doing pretty much everything the Western style, as much as I can get away with. But probably not terribly relevant to 3D printing anyways. It occurred to me that you might do like some Teflon coating or something on the beds of those printers, but that's probably going to be opening another series of problems. But I imagine you kind of want the material to stick to it. And oh boy, I'm getting rated. This is a first for me. Thank you. Welcome to the shop, everybody. I guess Clint has finished his stream for today. Yes, it is a wonderful mustache. I spent a good 5 minutes on it this morning. And I do believe this is the most people I've ever had in a stream at once, so I'm not sure how to handle it quite. But yeah, this is where I do my work. Hey Clint, thanks for the follow. You're probably not going to see much of it because I'm your competition, as it would seem. Okay, I think this is more followers than I've ever gotten in one day. So, yeah, good times all. Yeah, no, I am not a fan of boxing, if you can believe it. I'm more of an Aikido guy. But I haven't done that in many years either. So what I'm doing right now is getting material to laminate up some shelves. The plans call for 2x4 and 2x12, so I got a 2x12 and then 2x4s flanking it in a sort of lamination. This is the really ugly bookshelf, yeah, so it's going to be, once we laminate those will be the shelves. I probably ought to measure that first. So this is kind of a funky sort of lap joint that I got going on here. And we're just making the 2x4s a little bit shorter than the 2x12 so that there's a gap in the corners. And once we do that, we'll stick another vertical 2x4. Well, I'm pretty sure the wife might find out because she is one of my friends on Twitch, so she likes to check in on me from time to time. But we've at least got a relationship where we can joke around like that. We don't have one where I get to decide what I build, but we can joke around with each other a little bit. Now we'll be using the table saw later on, but I'm doing all the cross-cutting with the handsaw. As I've mentioned before in this stream, the chops on me are not friends. Yes, it's the amazing bookshelf build, which I am embarrassed to be producing. Oh, forgot my vertical. Look, if you're ever finding yourself working with construction lumber, you know you're not going to be showing off the piece all that much. And this is going in the living room, not the kitchen like the spice rack did. Stay. I hope the holdfasts are not too loud for you guys. Well, thanks for stopping by, Clint. Go get yourself some grub. Yeah, this wood is not dry. Who am I talking to? Chisel. Okay. Yeah, this is, I bought this from the Home Despot just a few days ago. So yeah, it's still quite damp. And it's going to work horrendously once it dries off in my living room. And so there will be many undulations and twistings, and it's just going to look terrible. Oh my goodness, it's going to be awful. There's no redeeming qualities about this. I made my workbench mostly out of construction lumber. So the top was kiln dried when I bought it, so that kind of prevented anything twisting or warping from there. These legs are 2x6s laminated up. I got 3 2x6s, and those were very, very dry because I had them in my garage for years. Yeah, that's what she wants, because we're just trying to get the house in order. We moved here a couple months ago, and we're still not unpacked. And we probably won't be until like the end of the year. Okay. You know, I probably should have measured this first. That would have been smart. But yeah, in the last 10 years, we've moved about 4 times. And we're sick of that. So we're taking our time, just getting settled in here. That's just kind of why the shop is not finished yet too. Because it's either build stuff for the shop or build stuff for the house, and sometimes the house wins. Unless you're in Vegas, and then the house always wins. Sweet zombie Jesus, 14 people in here. I don't know what to do with y'all. So we're doing the good old Paul Sellers knife wall. And I gotta move this over again because I put it in the wrong spot. Because how am I gonna cut that when it's on top of the bench? Yeah, well, they say woodworking is 50% planning, 50% execution, and 200% trying to correct your mistakes. I do get a little worried from time to time because this is a SPF bench top. These holdfasts are probably going to wear out the holes fairly quickly. Which is my next bench is probably going to be maple, but that's a ways off too. I don't even know what to do with these scraps. So 2. I've got 4. I think I need 12. I still have 2x4s up there. Trying to make sure I have enough material. Did you tell me to dance? No, there will be no dancing. I don't have enough insurance for that. Yes, the benches will last, but were they using holdfasts? That's the important question. Okay, so I've got 3 2x4s up there. I've got 4 down there. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. So I should have enough lumber still. Well, I suppose I might get away with this a little bit longer then. What am I doing? We don't use measuring tapes around here. Yeah, there's more reasons than just the hold fast that I want to make a new bench. I just, I don't really, well, I want a leg vise. That's what I want. I want a leg vise. And I think I want a tail vise now too. I've talked myself into it. I've been trying to justify not having a tail vise for a long time. But, yeah. I'm starting to see the light. Or if nothing else, maybe like a Wonder Dog, the Veritas Wonder Dogs. Those look kind of nice. If you're familiar with them anyway. No, you were supposed to stay there. Don't run away on me now. Yeah, I've always been skeptical of the split top bench, but it's kind of starting to make sense to me now. I'm not absolutely convinced. I'm going to see how much I can get away with just having the nice big tool wall and see if that'll work for me. I'm going to move this camera because I am not using that table saw at the moment. See if that does a little bit better. Okay, so you might be able to see big tool wall behind me up there in the corner. Yeah, one of the things I've done, this is a stopgap measure, is I added in, see if I can make that visible, this kind of tool tray here, just holds tools vertically, but that was an afterthought. It works, but it's not great. Especially because like half the tools kind of fall over once you set them in, like, yeah, there are detractors. Are you referring to the French cleat system, or are you referring to the tool tray or the tool holder? The tool holder is just supposed to be a temporary storage as I'm working on things, where I'm really trying to get everything up there. I got my my chisel rack up just the other day, so I'm pretty pleased with that. It made me happy. boys here in a few minutes. So. Set you down there. Fortunately, I don't have too much wood as of yet. Which side do I want to keep? Can I get rid of this knot? I can. Let's do that. That might work. Might not, the chisels wouldn't work too well, but for like the saws, well, yeah, if maybe I could do like the stuff you put in the bottom of your tool drawers that they sell at like mechanics tools. Might be able to do that. Be a little bit tricky to get in there. So I'm probably just going to go with the easy way out and just deal with it the way it is. But it is a good call, definitely. Now, of course, by the time I get to my next bench, I'll probably just go with a tool well. I'll probably see the light eventually. Not sure if I would want to do it in the middle, or if I would do it like on the end. So I know the split top is one idea, and some guys just do the tool well at the very end of the bench. I can see advantages for both. I did a little bit of research into bench design before I built this guy, and my main goal was just to design it in such a manner that I could actually build it, and not get too frustrated that I would give up. It would help if I put the vertical line somewhere where I could see it. Makes it a lot easier to follow when you can see it. Yeah, but eventually just went with this very simple, straight on. Of course, I decided to go with double mortise and tenon on the legs for some reason, because I'm a masochist. I still have those pictures from the build. I ought to put those on Instagram. Didn't do any video of that or anything. More lumber. And honestly, at this point, with the 2x12s, I had a a bit more of an excuse of using the handsaw because they wouldn't fit on my chop saw. With the 2x4s, I have no such excuse. I'm just doing it this way because I like it better. And for my health. That's what I'll tell myself. It's not enough that I run 10 miles a week, I also have to kill myself sawing. Make sure all the cameras are still working. Sometimes these, I've got different Android devices mounted up around the shop to act as my secondary cameras. Everything in here is Android based. And some of them like to shut off because it gets too damn hot. Especially, I got an overhead camera up there, and it gets really hot up there. So it'll go for about an hour, hour and a half before it gives up and turns itself off. But I can't afford proper equipment to be streaming, so here's what I got. Just get a nice little curve established here. That way the blade wants to follow it. And concentrate on the vertical. Double check, make sure we're still in line. Ooh, that's really fun. So one of the tricky things about wood is they can have, especially this construction lumber, is it can have its own internal tension, right? And so, I'm not sure if we can see. See how it's a lot wider down here than it is up top? Well, the wood is reacting to its own internal tensions and contracting up here, so it's pinching my saw blade just a little bit. Hope you all caught that. And it's not really a big deal here, but it's more of a big deal when you're working with table saws, because you can, if you pinch the blade and you don't have a proper riving knife, or it hasn't got to the riving knife or something like that, that's one of the ways you can get kickback. There is no kickback with hand tools, though. There's only dull tools that you push too hard and end up cutting yourself. That's 6. Am I halfway there? That's 7. Which side do I want to keep? No, let's just go with this one. pencil mark so I can find it later. Unfortunately, I don't think you guys are going to be able to see much more than just some rough dimensioning here, some cross-cutting. That's probably all I'm going to have time for before the end of the stream. Of course, I will be back Thursday. Well, so long as nothing happens in the interim. Unacceptable? Yes. Yes, it is. But a man's got to eat, and the wife's got to use the internet, so... Maybe someday when we've discovered an alternate method of nourishing ourselves and I can afford to have my own fiber optic connector that I don't have to share with the rest of the household. But these are the times we live in. And what amazing times they are when I can do hand tool woodworking as a hobby. That is a really nasty knot. Let's see if we can't eliminate that. I'd like to eliminate that one too. Okay. So if you can see, yeah, this is a pretty nasty knot. We don't like that. We're going to cut that out. It's not the worst knot I've seen in this project so far. Not by any stretch. But it's still unnecessary ugly. And we will not tolerate any more ugly than is absolutely necessary. Alright, well, at least looks like my tracker is updating as it goes. I always get a little bit concerned about those, and I do apologize. I didn't get everybody who followed me today. I think I missed one of you. Unfortunately, it's not really easy for me to see all the notifications that go along here. Let's put that over here. But I do appreciate all the follows, and in fact, I appreciate you all watching, because this is giving me someone to talk to. And it can get just a tad lonely in here sometimes. do believe I may have cut on the wrong side of the line. Too late now. And when we start making stupid mistakes, that's when you know it's time to take a break. How are we looking? Oh, those are flush. I guess I'm not as stupid as I thought it was. Alright. Let's see what we can get. No escaping that guy. So this one I can't get rid of, but that one I could. But this side doesn't look as bad, so we'll keep that as the top of the shelf. And put it towards the back of the project, where it will be less noticeable. I do like this knife better than the spear point one, but obviously we can only cut score in one direction with this knife. So I think ideally I'd like a left-handed and a right-handed marking knife. I suppose that's something I might be able to build myself, but I'm not extremely comfortable with metalworking. Definitely not to the point where, you know, I would be tempering anything. So as far as projects goes, metal projects goes, that would be the one to start with. Ooh boy, that was not good. Saw kind of wandered just a little bit to the left. I think it's salvageable though. That's 9, 10. I think this will be my last one. That should give me enough for all the shelves. Okay, so I've got this knot on the end I think I want to get rid of because that's probably all I can get rid of. This one here I don't care too much for, but there's no avoiding it. So we'll start with this end. I do love using holdfasts. I don't know why more folks don't adopt them. They're probably one of the most convenient work holding methods that I've found. Nice little curve established there for the saw to fall later. And work down the edge. In a 45 degree. Got a little bit of tension there, getting pinched again. Go ahead and oil it a bit. Oil makes everything go smoother. Chisel, hammer, you all have gotten a little bit too quiet for my taste. That's unfortunate. Either that or you're just completely enthralled by this wonderful sawing technique that I've developed. Which I find to be very unlikely. think my next project is actually going to be a garden shed. It's not so much of a woodworking project as a DIY kind of yard project. But I've got large yard machines over there because I'm on about an acre, so mowing is quite the chore. And 11 and 12. All right, I think this is all I need for the 2x4s on this particular cut. The plans call for 10, so I got 12 because we're doing an extra shelf. And the next thing I'm needing is 79.5-inch 2x4s, which that will be fun, but that will also be fairly easy. But actually, it's probably time that I wrap this up, because it's almost 1 o'clock and I've been at this for about 2 hours. But yeah, do appreciate y'all joining me. And if you are so inclined, feel free to follow me here on Twitch. You can follow me on Instagram. I've got a Facebook page. I'm on Twitter. I've got videos on YouTube, and all of my Twitch streams are also archived on a separate YouTube channel. So everything should be linked down below on the external links. Oh yeah, I got a blog too. Do people still do blogs? I don't know. I don't really do a blog. But yeah. Next time, I'm probably going to do more of this, and possibly some ripping on the table saw, and no proper joinery because that's not what we're doing on this project. But again, thanks for joining me. Hope you all had a good time. See you later.